Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show. 7:33, time for my favorite segment of the week, Young Guns, where we talk about the big stories making news in D.C. and get the perspective from the younger generation. We're joined this morning with Young Republican of Arkansas Chairman and Rich Products Corporation Key Account Manager Jack Avery, and also former Young Democrat of Arkansas President and Chairman of Blevins Investment Group, Josh Blevins. Great to have you here.
Great to be here, y'all. Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys have a question for you, and I would imagine I know the answer, but like any American, do you have an iPhone, you have an iPad, you have all those iProducts?
I have all of the above iProducts. I have an iPhone, and I just got my first iPad.
Okay, and we use these products all the time, not thinking anything about it, but here's some concerning news. We've heard about the National Security Agency and these various agencies getting different information. But I want to play the story from Doug McElway from Fox News about some new developments and revelations about the NSA that are quite surprising. Let's hear from Doug.
Adding new doubts for privacy advocates, the administration this month petitioned the Supreme Court to allow police to search cell phone records without a warrant. Today's smartphones are an encyclopedia of private information and a tracking device. That capability was demonstrated by two computer scientists in 2011. They discovered that the Apple iPhone and iPad were recording user locations in a hidden file. Apple has since changed that policy, but the Electronic Communication Privacy Act, which governs police access to cell phone records, was written in 1986. Courts have recently split over police collection of cell phone data. A New Jersey state court ruled that cell phone privacy is protected under the New Jersey equivalent of the Fourth Amendment.
Here we have more information, more data that the NSA is collecting. And here's the question, is that there's controversy over the NSA's surveillance program regarding computers and now iPhones and iPads, but it might particularly have eroding impact with his popularity among young voters. Josh, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, there actually is evidence that says that these revelations about the NSA are hurting the president's popularity with young voters, and frankly, I think that reaffirms my faith in young voters. Not to say that I think that their beef is legitimately with the president, but that there is indeed beef with the NSA. These were policies that, as that last news report indicated, were instituted as far back as 1986, and it's been under multiple presidencies. And I think that if young folks were paying attention to what's going on in the news, just like old folks, they would know that the president has called for reforms of the NSA and additional oversight of what the NSA is doing, and I think that is a good thing.
Jack?
I think that young folks in general just kind of hate the notion of Big Brother is watching, and this story sort of reaffirms that Big Brother is watching, and Big Brother right now is big government. To kind of use an example of a very common social media outlet, Facebook. When you get on Facebook and you register on there, you sign up and you check the disclaimer box. A lot of people don't realize that when they check that disclaimer box, that once you post something on Facebook, whether it be a picture, a post, or a message, you actually lose the right and ownership of that picture and post. Facebook now owns that.
Right.
And it seems to me like what the federal government is doing, or the NSA is doing, with our cell phones, with our conversations on phones, tweets, text messages. They're functioning almost like Facebook, except that they don't necessarily have ownership. We didn't get to check that disclaimer box saying, yes, you can take this from me. And I personally have taken issue with that as a conservative. I believe in the individual and in our right to privacy in this country. But I suggest to your listeners that if they have an issue with this and they find it grossly offensive and invasive that the government is hoarding this information, that they contact their elected leaders and they tell them how they feel about it, ask the elected leaders what their opinion is on these issues of the NSA hoarding information and holding on to emails and to phone calls. And if they don't like what they hear, vote for the other guy in November.
Absolutely. And this brings us, this was brought to light, as we know, by the NSA contractor, Ed Snowden, who took classified information and released it to the media, which, clearly he now claims he did it for all the right reasons to show the grasp and the scope of information that's being seized, but he executed it poorly, very poorly. And anyway, the information is out there. Now we're having this discussion, but polls show a double-digit drop in President Obama's approval rating amongst young folks since the Ed Snowden situation came out. And this is weakening the president ahead of fall fights for congressional Republicans over the budget and immigration. And this is an issue that is of concern to all folks, but as you both have said, specifically young people. And Jack, to your point, young people, everyone, but specifically those that are more on Facebook and more on social media and more using their iPhones and iPads, this is a concern given their privacy. And Josh, your thoughts about encouraging folks to communicate with their elected officials that this is something that needs to be addressed and stopped?
Absolutely. A lot of young folks are, like me, very much social and civil libertarians, and we want government to stay out of our lives, and that's why we're Democrats. And I think that as folks become aware of the reforms that the president is asking for, the additional safeguards, the additional oversight of our national surveillance apparatus, that they'll say, yeah, these are good reforms, and the president's popularity amongst young folks will certainly rebound.
And Jack?
It's funny, Josh, you said that you're a social libertarian. I usually associate libertarians more with the Republican Party, not with the Democratic Party, because in my humble opinion, the Republican Party is about the American individual, whereas the Democratic Party historically has been about bigger government. It is concerning. It is alarming. The president has come out and said that it's taken him 4.5 years to speak out against these actions. He was going to try and change all this when he ran in 2008, and he didn't change it. There has to be a line drawn in the sand, and the line, to me, needs to be drawn in the sand by Congress, needs to be drawn in the line by our elected leaders, and the only way that you're going to be able to make that happen is by calling your elected leaders and telling them that you're not going to stand for hoarding of American information and that you expect them to do something about it.
All right. Go ahead.
Let's remind everybody that it may have taken President Obama, 3.5 years to get here, but in the 8 years of President Bush's presidency, this was not talked about at all.
Well, President Bush was also, presiding over 9/11, and the Patriot Act was a big deal that had a lot of issues coming in, and I don't necessarily agree with everything in the Patriot Act. I wish that there was a time frame, like a 10-year time frame to go in and try and clean out all of our terrorists that are out there. But again, Obama ran on an era of transparency with the federal government, and it hasn't happened. He came in and said that he was going to be more transparent. He was going to squelch all these programs that so many people in the United States were not fans of after 9/11, and he hadn't changed anything. So, what do you say at that point? Is it George W. Bush's fault for, putting these programs in place, or is it President Obama's fault for not making the changes that he promised the American people that he was going to change?
And I think we get to, this started out as a way to help national security, but it has become an invasion of privacy, and it's an ongoing discussion and debate we'll have. Josh and Jack, we're going to take a quick break and come back discuss something a little more on the local level about public trust in our elected officials. So we'll take a break and come back and visit more with Josh and Jack. But first, I want to encourage you to make plans this weekend to head out for a walk or a run or a bike ride or a swim. But start at Sporty Runner in Conway. The folks there will take a look at your gait and your walk and your foot strike, and they'll put you in just the right shoe for runners and walkers of all abilities, whether you're just starting out or you're a marathon runner. I've been out there many times, and you get just the perfect shoe, and there's every shoe size and style is in stock. So often you go and they don't have your size in stock, and you have to wait. They have all sizes and styles right there. You can get your shoes and get on the road right there. right then and there. And also running apparel. They have all the great running clothing. And if you want to swim, they have Speedos and Tri-Rs, dolphin swimwear, goggles, and all the accessories. They also sponsor a lot of races and can give you good sound advice for walking and running and getting involved in many of these events. Also for triathletes, they have great biking and cycling apparel for you there. So go to Sporty Runner, get started on your path to fitness there on Von Ronkel Street in Conway. We'll be right back after this.
Lord, I never troop first, but I troop first, Lord, I'm going, son.